Welcome to NYNJPA Weather, your severe weather source for the northern mid-Atlantic. I'm your meteorologist, Stephen DiMartino. We're going to start out this morning with the visible satellite picture as of 9:30 a.m. this morning. I have the surface fronts overlaid with the dew points. Now, the reason why I want to show this is that you can see a significant difference between the dew points ahead of this cold front, where they're generally in the lower to mid 70s for many locations, mid to upper 60s over parts of Connecticut and Long Island. Meanwhile, behind the cold front, skies are clearing out and dew points are quickly falling into the lower to mid 60s. A few holdouts around 70 degrees, but I think those are delayed observations. For the most part, you could see that dew points are even falling off into the upper 50s over portions of upstate New York, and that dry air will move in towards the northern mid-Atlantic, providing clearing skies and an excellent afternoon for any outdoor activity. Now, this afternoon there is a chance for an isolated, and I stress the word isolated, thunderstorm for parts of northeastern Pennsylvania, northern New Jersey, the Hudson Valley, and Connecticut due to a stronger disturbance that will be moving through the Mohawk River Valley and parts of northern Hudson Valley and northern New England. For the most part, the best dynamics and lifting will be located well to the north, but I can't rule out an isolated thunderstorm that could move into Connecticut or the Hudson Valley this afternoon and evening. Otherwise, expect perfect weather conditions this afternoon. The weather conditions through at least Wednesday evening are actually going to be rather nice. The high pressure system over the upper Midwest will slowly drift towards the mid-Atlantic, keeping us in a northwesterly wind pattern through at least Wednesday evening, keeping humidity low, temperatures near to slightly above normal in the 80s to lower 90s, and no precipitation. So if you have any outdoor activities tonight, all the way on through Wednesday, get out there and enjoy it because it's going to be absolutely perfect. The only problem is that this high pressure system will drift off the East Coast by Wednesday night, and for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we will be under the influence of a strengthening southwesterly wind, and that means the return of humid conditions and temperatures in the upper 80s to mid 90s. Now, unlike the last heat wave where temperatures skyrocketed to 100 degrees, this time we'll be able to have these weak cold fronts and disturbances move through the region, keeping a threat of isolated thunderstorms in the forecast and also limiting the intensity of the heat, which will be more focused towards the Tennessee River Valley and the southern plains. So for the most part, look for a return to hot and humid conditions towards the end of this week into the first and through much of this weekend. But the good news is that it won't be as oppressive as what we saw last week. There's a little bit of tropical trouble, though, developing. Let's dive down to the south of Cuba. Now, I've been keeping an eye on this disturbance for about a week or so, and I've been warning that if the upper level winds slacken off, that this disturbance is going to have a real chance of developing into a tropical depression and possibly something stronger like a tropical storm or hurricane. Well, finally this morning, the upper level wind shear is really slackening off, and the atmospheric conditions are setting up to be primed for tropical development. And lo and behold, now we're starting to get convection developing and a more of a cyclonic circulation starting to develop with this disturbance. I do think that this will be a new tropical depression within the next 24 hours, if not sooner. There is clearly an outflow and inflow circulation starting to develop. And of course, with all this convection developing, I think that we should see a low-level circulation become established to the south of Cuba that will move into the Gulf of Mexico. So we're going to have to keep an eye on this disturbance and the impacts it could have from everywhere from Texas to the Florida coast. Now I want to go to the European model guidance from the Penn State EWOL website, and this is for Monday, but really this pattern could represent the weather pattern from Friday all the way on through next week. And what we basically have setting up here is a strong Bermuda high and a western Atlantic ridge, a strong heat ridge over the plains, and then these little weak troughs trying to move through over the Canadian border and a weakness over the East Coast. Now, why is this all important? Well, first and foremost, this is a very warm pattern for the northern mid-Atlantic. Now, we'll still have from time to time a cold front move through with a few isolated showers and thunderstorms, but the air mass behind these cold fronts will be very weak and warm up very quickly. So I really don't expect much of an invasion of polar air masses at all in this weather pattern. For the most part, temperatures will average above normal and humidity will be on the high side. But more importantly, this pattern is setting up a rather interesting possible interaction with tropical disturbances, storms, and yes, even hurricanes. Let's take, for example, the disturbance developing over parts of southern Cuba and to the south of Cuba. Now, this disturbance will likely move into the Gulf Coast, and based on the way upper level winds are developing, should force this disturbance towards the western and central Gulf of Mexico. Once this disturbance makes landfall, whether it's a tropical storm or a hurricane or just a tropical depression, that moisture will ride up the East Coast and be funneled into this weakness along the East Coast. So you see, anything that develops around the Gulf of Mexico or around the Bahamas will be drawn up the East Coast and could have an indirect or direct impact on the northern mid-Atlantic over the next several weeks. When this pattern sets up, there's going to be an increased chance of very heavy precipitation with these tropical systems. So don't be surprised if much of August features well above normal precipitation if enough tropical systems develop in the Bahamas or in the central Gulf of Mexico. It's going to be a very interesting pattern going forward, and one that will surely keep me on my toes. Thank you for trusting in NYNJPA Weather as your severe weather source for the northern mid-Atlantic. As always, you can follow the latest weather information on Twitter, Facebook, and Tumblr, and of course at nynjpaweather.com. I'm your meteorologist, Stephen DiMartino. Have an excellent day.